We're here at the IAS meeting. We're here with Dr. Parirenyatwa, who is the Health Minister of Zimbabwe, and we really appreciate you taking the time to visit with us about some of the challenges you're facing and also some of the success stories that you might have for your country.
Yes. Well, in terms of HIV, in our country we had a very high...
Well, let's call it HIV and TB and maybe even malaria.
Yes, in terms of that group of diseases, HIV, TB, malaria, and other infectious diseases, we had a very high prevalence rate of HIV in around 2000. But because we insisted on three strategies, the first strategy was prevention, the second strategy was prevention, and the third strategy was prevention. And with that, our HIV prevalence just shot down like that. And now our prevalence is half of what we had since 2000. And we're emphasizing...
What were you pitching for the use of male circumcision, or PrEP, or condoms, or all of it, or...
You see, when we started in 2000, it wasn't, those PrEP issues were not there yet. Circumcision was not even an issue then.
Right.
But it was just a question of behavioral change. To tell people not to have multiple partners, to tell people the use of condoms was very heavy. In fact, Zimbabwe became one of the heaviest users of condoms per capita in the world. So that was used very, very well. So our prevalence shot down. But now the emphasis is now on treatment as well. Because now with what UNAIDS always talks about, 90, 90, 90, those three 90s are all on treatment. Zimbabwe and the region were now advocating for a fourth 90. And again, that fourth 90 is prevention. So we are saying, no matter what you do, no matter how you do it, if you continue to have new infections, you will not win this war. So we're now looking at areas where these new infections are coming through.
Specific in your country?
Yes, specific in our country. It will be the commercial sex workers. It will be the prison settings. It will be long-distance truck drivers. But most importantly is the youths between the ages of 12 and 25.
So they're all key populations.
Those are our key populations. But if you look at the prison settings, obviously, if the prevalence is double that of the normal population, something is happening there in prisons. Men are having sex with men.
So we have the same thing happening in our country.
Why is it?
Yeah.
So we need to address that. So we are now looking at key populations and trying to stop new infections in those areas while also accelerating treatment, including...
Because treatment is prevention.
Treatment is prevention. And also we want to make sure that any child who is born is HIV-free. So mothers should be screened while they are pregnant to make sure that they don't deliver a child who is HIV positive. But even if you have a generation free of HIV, they are born without HIV. If we are not careful, by the time they get to 13, they get infected again. So we must continue the prevention agenda.
Do you use breastfeeding mostly in your country?
Yes, we do. We use a lot of breastfeeding, and we advise breastfeeding exclusively for the first 6 months, and we know that works well, extremely well. So you will find breastfeeding is one of the things that we really push in our countries. But like I said, we want to keep all the teenagers free. So the agenda of prevention must be carried forward everywhere in the world. Not just for HIV, but for TB, it's the same thing. For cancers, it's the same thing. For malaria, it's the same thing. It's the prevention agenda. And I think that if that can go around the world, that whatever you do, I always tell the story that when I go to my office one morning, my office was flooded with water. And we were jumping in pools of water. And we had to look where this water is coming from. And somebody had left a tap running throughout the weekend. So, no matter how much you scoop out that water, if the tap is still running, you will not be able to win.
Exactly.
It's the same as HIV. Close the tap. Thank you.
We really do have to work hard at that. I mean, prevention is key, and the more you can. And I think if each country in Africa, where there's a huge prevalence, focuses a method, like you are in your country, and you have success, it has to be replicated, or at least the pieces you know are working. because that makes all the sense in the world, and
Yes.
I really appreciate the work you're doing.
And that is the beauty of this conference, is to copy good practices and share them.
So with your ICASA and
Yes,
so
with the
forth.
CASA that we had in Zimbabwe, and this is CASA that's going to happen in Cote d'Ivoire.
Is that in December?
That's in December 2017, because it's a biannual.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, last year it was in Zimbabwe, in Harare, and we've handed over to Cote d'Ivoire now. And we had a big success out of it. And we launched there, test and treat, and also self-testing.
What is the most important thing you got out of the conference so far?
The most important thing that I've learned in the conference is that don't leave anybody behind. Otherwise you won't win the war. And
I just heard that from one of the drug manufacturers.
yeah,
They don't want to leave anybody behind.
Don't
And I
leave
think
anybody behind.
That's a very good way to look at life. Yeah.
and the second thing that I've learned is that international financing is dwindling.
Yeah,
So-
that's scary.
So we need to look at domestic financing.
And we also need to try to get back some of that funding. I know Barbara Lee was here for our country, and I think maybe we can change some of that. But we don't want to be the only one who steps up to the plate. They all have to step up to the plate. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you very much for
Thank
your
you.
time.
I
Appreciate
welcome
it.
this.
Good
Thank
luck.
you. Thank you.